Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. On Fridays, we talk about the product owner role in Scrum. We talk about patterns and anti-patterns that relate to ours and the team's collaboration with the product owner. And we've also put together a course to help you navigate that relationship. There's 18 modules, nearly 8 hours of tools, techniques, videos, handouts, presentations you can use to help you and your team work better with your product owner. The course is available at bit.ly/coachyourpo. All lowercase, all one word. That's bit.ly/coachyourpo. And now, on to the show, the Product Owner Show. Hello everybody, welcome to our Product Owner TGIF episode with Simon Flossmann. Hi Simon, welcome back.
Hi Vasco.
So Simon, on Fridays we talk about product owner, and we want to start with a bad example so that we end up on a high. So share with us what might have been possibly the worst product owner anti-pattern that you've witnessed in your career.
Oh, so maybe you need to help me a little bit by naming the anti-pattern. I'm not so good at this, but let me start by explaining the situation and then you give the name. The situation was I worked at a scaled environment, and I think we had 4 teams working on one product or so. And we had 5 product owners. So we had 4 teams working on one product and we had 5 product owners. I would call it more a team, and we had 4 product owners for each team, which were, I would describe them more as team product owners whatsoever. And their main responsibility was to, they agreed on which PBIs should be worked on in the near future. And then they were responsible for communicating and helping the team understand the PBIs and helping them to implement it. So maybe it's more a proxy of a product owner. And to be honest, this product owner had not that much mandate. They were not allowed to schedule the releases nor change the product backlog in a significant way, I would say. And besides that, we had I would say chief product owner, or maybe it's the real product owner, but he did not call himself a product owner. He describes himself as a project manager or something like that. He was responsible for the whole product and for all the peoples. And so I think he had the full mandate, but on the other hand, he had not that much time. And he said, yeah, it's not a problem. I have these other product owner and they work on my behalf. But in reality, it looks a little bit different. So how would you describe these product owner anti-pattern?
Yeah, that's a good question. I at least I heard 2 possible anti-patterns here. So one is the absent product owner that you just mentioned, the chief product owner who wasn't really available. And then the other one is the anti-pattern, the proxy product owner, where the product owners in the team are not really empowered. They're just kind of a proxy. They're mouthpieces for whatever the chief product owner decided.
Yes. One of the things where you saw it is if the team would ask the product owner a question, which goes a little bit beyond the content of a specific PBI, the product owner always resisted and said, okay, I need to talk to someone to get a better understanding or to get the mandate on how to change it, which turned out to be very ineffective and slow.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just slow, but of course, because whenever you put a couple of steps in between, you lose information and you lose understanding.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can share a few things what I tried to do, or what I did in trying to change the situation.
Go for it.
So to me, the most important aspect was to bring the actual product owner to the teams. Like they need to collaborate in a way. And it was really tough to invite him to attend the sprint review on a 2-weekly basis. This was a huge step. And after we achieved this, I tried to let him own the event. Even if we had the other product owners, which may be presenting some of the product backlog items or collecting feedback from the users or so, he should really own the event. He should start with the invitation and provide the vision for the product to connect the teams to the product itself. I think there we did a pretty good job. And what we also managed is that he started in providing the objective for the next sprint. It was very broad, and sometimes it was, I think, for 2 or more sprints, but I think that was a huge achievement to let him provide the objective for the next sprint.
Absolutely. And that hopefully also helped clarify questions immediately rather than waiting for the proxy product owners to then go and proxy information back and forth.
Yes.
Very good. All right, so that's definitely a great tip. Next, we turn our attention to what might have been the opposite, the mirror image, potentially the best product owner pattern that you have seen in your career, Simon.
Okay, this one is a little bit easier as the first one. What really makes a product owner outstanding, there are some key points I saw at one product owner in the past. And one of them was that he really closely collaborated with the stakeholders and the customer. And not only at the sprint review, but also throughout the sprint. He visited the customer, had a look how the people are working, what are their problems are, and he tried to understand their needs and pain points. Also, he tries to work with the internal stakeholder in our company, let's call it the sponsors, to connect the customer having the problem to our internal stakeholders who having the money in a sense. And I think he did a brilliant job in collaborating and bringing all these people together on one table. That was one really key thing for success.
How did that collaboration emerge? Like, I'm really interested to understand a little bit more about that because, collaboration between or bringing the customer insight to the stakeholders is what usually happens, or we hope happens with great product owners. But you brought collaboration into the conversation, which actually, at least in my mind, kind of highlights not just bringing information from customers to stakeholders, but actually bringing customers to stakeholders or vice versa. Was that what was happening?
I think that would be the next step. But what he did is he brought the problem of the customers to the stakeholder. And then the solution was validated with the customer as well. And this information was also brought back to the stakeholders to make a better informed decision, let's say. And also to invite the customers to give feedback on what to do next. And how we did achieve that, I'm not sure. Maybe I worked good as a coach, but I really tried to ask him open-ended questions, how you can figure out what the problems are. Does it help to visit the customers or things like that? And I think he believed before that the product owner always has to be with the team. And I said, in my experience, that's not true. The product owner is more on the customer and stakeholder side and not on it's from the time-wise perspective, and does not have to sit the whole day in the office with the team. Okay, that might be helpful, but for the overall success, I think it's more important to collaborate with stakeholders and customers. So maybe I can share a little bit more on this. What's the impact of his work then? How you work with the team if you work more with stakeholders and customer. And there he did a brilliant job. He gave very outcome-based sprint goals and only describes the product backlog items on a very high level. He more proposes the problem or the things he wants to see in the future. And so he freed up the room for the team to solve the problem on their own, and only constantly explaining what the next problem is worth to solve.
One of the key aspects that I see in good product owners over and over again is exactly that. They try to step back from the details, but they try to step in at the same time into the details of the problems that they want to solve, right? So step out of the technology solution details, but step into the customer understanding, step into the customer problems, and try to kind of live in the customer's shoes, as it were.
Yes. And maybe the last thing I can highlight here, I think he was a very bold in a sense that he sometimes pivot, like the things did not turn out as expected. So for instance, the team was building a spike or actually delivering an increment, and then we found out this will never work as expected. And oftentimes people continue to push in this direction, but he really was bold and said, okay, that makes no sense. We try a different approach or try to solve a different problem even. By the end, it did not provide so much, let's say, increments, which are building upon each other. But eventually, he found the right problem to solve with this approach.
Exactly, which is at the end the goal of the product owner, finding the right problem to solve.
Exactly.
Simon, it's been a pleasure to have you here this week. A lot of stories, a lot of insights, and of course, a lot of learnings from the stories that you have shared. Unfortunately, we're getting close to the end. However, before we do go, do share with us, where can we find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
Well, I think the easiest thing is to connect with me on LinkedIn by my first and last name, Simon Flossmann. I think that's the easiest way.
Absolutely. We'll put the link on the show notes so that people can easily find Simon on LinkedIn. Simon, once again, thank you very much for your generosity with your time and your knowledge.
Before I go, I will really want to say I appreciate your work, Vasco, doing this podcast. I think it supports our community in such a great way. And last thing I want to say, I think I started listening to your podcast almost 4 years ago or so. And it provided me so much help and inspiration on my career path. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Simon. One more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast is over. But there's a lot more we have to share. We have developed our own membership site where you find a community of active and engaged Scrum Masters. In this site, you get access to exclusive content and get to interact with us, your podcast hosts, as well as the best Scrum Masters in the world. Join us at scrummastertoolbox.com/podcast and keep this podcast free of advertising. See you next week for one more week full of Scrum Master tips and tricks. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.